So the next question which is asked in test series 5 for IN is from the subject transducers, and it is for 2 marks. It is from the topic capacitive transducers. So here the basic setup, we will go through the question. So if we have a basic setup to measure the liquid level in a given tank or a bowl using a capacitive transducer, so arrangement is shown here. It is given with a supply frequency of 50 Hz with the voltage has 11 volts. So the C1 and C2 values are given as C1 is what we have to find out and C2 is 10 microfarad. So here we are asked the equal representation in terms of electrical circuit is given on the right hand side, which is in the figure 2. So here the condition here is if the voltage divider ratio V output by V input to be remain constant over wide range of frequency. That is what ideally any transducer design should be. So here the aim is to have the same reading for 11 volts 50 Hz and 11 volts 100 Hz. So it should not be dependent on the frequency. The output should be independent of frequency, because here we are measuring the voltage. So what should be the value of R to make it independent of frequency? If the voltage across the capacitor C1 is found to be 1 volt. So here we know that the voltage across C1 is 1 volt and the other resistor R2 is 1 kilo ohm, and we need to calculate what should be the value of R so that you will get an output which is independent of input frequency. So we know that so we need to balance the bridge. That is the main idea of to make it independent of frequency. That is true for any instrument which is dependent on frequency. So if the ratio of the resistance in the first arm is equal to the ratio of the capacitance in the second arm, so the bridge is balanced and we have an output which is independent of frequency. That is the basic idea to make it independent of frequency. So here I'm taking the ratio which is 1 kilo ohm by R is equal to C1 by 1100 microfarad. So we need to calculate what should be the value of C1 and substitute here so that we can calculate so we need to calculate this as first so that we can substitute in this equation and calculate the value of R. So we are given with the voltage across the capacitor as 1 volt. So we have all other quantities. So VC1 is 1 volt and the input supply is 11 volts. And we know that the C2 is 100 microfarad. So on substituting that, we get the value of C1 as 100 microfarad. The expression you can see it here to calculate. So we now know all the values. C1 is 100 microfarad and C2 is 1100 microfarad, and the supply voltage V input is 11 volts at 50 Hz. So we know all the quantities except R in the above expression. So on substituting C1 as 100 microfarad, we get the value of R as 11 kilo ohm. So if we have a 11 kilo ohm resistor in the bridge network shown above in figure 2, we can make the circuit independent of the input frequency. So the value of R should be 11 kilo ohm.